When a narcissist is a child, they learn that they aren't allowed to have boundaries. In fact, they don't know what a personal boundary is, let alone how to maintain one. The trauma that causes narcissism to develop involves either abusive parents who don't allow boundaries, perhaps because they're narcissists themselves, or overprotective parents who run over the children's boundaries to protect them. In either case, narcissists don't respect boundaries. My narcissistic mother, like other toxic parents, never allowed me to have any personal boundaries. She would force me to talk about things I didn't want to, read my personal diary, and even go through my trash. I had no privacy, and if she knew something bothered me, she would push my boundaries on that subject just to watch me squirm. It was horrible. And when I finally began healing, it took me a long time to understand that I deserve to have my boundaries respected. So do you, which is why it is important to understand the reasons why a narcissist will push or ignore your boundaries altogether. Here are 7 common reasons. Superiority Complex. When a child's psychosocial development is interrupted, it disrupts the formation of critical identity mechanisms that allow an individual to support their own self-esteem and soothe themselves when something goes wrong. For a narcissist, the trauma that disrupted the development of a healthy ego caused them to become filled with shame and self-loathing. They secretly believe their true self is hopelessly flawed. That's why they buried that true self and constructed a false self-image in its place. They then infused that false self-image with grandiose ideas of superiority. You can easily imagine a wounded child telling themselves insistently, "I'm better than everyone else. I'm like a Superman or Superwoman." It's actually very sad, but this superiority complex makes them feel as though they have a right to do whatever they want when it comes to other people. They're superhumans, and as such, should be able to cross any boundary they want to cross. As superior individuals, they do what they want, not what other people tell them they have to do. If they need to cross a boundary you've set, you should simply let them do it. Often, they don't even know they're crossing a boundary. They've never known boundaries, and so they're not used to respecting them. They don't see you as a separate entity. The problem with the false self-image that a narcissist constructs to replace their true ego is that it can't support the narcissist's grandiose ideas. It can't prop up their self-esteem like a healthy ego would be able to do. That's why the narcissist needs external validation. They need other people to reassure them that they are as grandiose as the image they've created for themselves. They manipulate the people around them to get them to give them the adoration they need to feel as grandiose as their delusions warrant. Because the other people who provide the narcissist with their supply of adulation are effectively doing the job of a healthy identity, the narcissist comes to think of them as simply an extension of their identity mechanisms. They don't see them as independent entities with their own identities, needs, and desires. Thus, to the narcissist, you're little more than an extension of their identity mechanism. You're there to prop them up, and as such, you're not allowed to have boundaries that prevent the narcissist from getting what they need. In their mind, they should be able to know everything about you they want to know, and do anything they feel they need to do. You're simply a part of them, so there is no separation, no boundary between you and them. They find it amusing. Sometimes the narcissist simply gets bored, and they are looking for something to amuse themselves with. That might mean manipulating you and other people into doing something that will be entertaining for the narcissist. Narcissists love drama, and when they can create it by crossing boundaries set by the people around them, it makes them feel powerful. They feel like everyone is their puppet, and they can just do what they want. I used to watch my mother do this with my father all the time. She would say something she knew would push his buttons, and more often than not, he would take the bait. She would sit back with an odd look on her face as she watched him explode. I just knew she was enjoying the fact that she could set him off like that in an instant. I could see that she was loving the control she had over him. They're like a spoiled child. Another reason a narcissist will push boundaries is that they are like a spoiled child who doesn't like being told they can't do something. They don't like restrictions, and so they will try to get away with as much as they can. In fact, narcissism can be caused by spoiling a child, and when that happens, the adult narcissist is used to getting their way. They don't like it when someone prevents them from doing what they want. If you tell them you don't like what they're doing, like a spoiled child, they will try even harder to do it. It's almost as if they're sticking their tongue out at you. If you give in, they will know that this tactic can work anytime they want. It's like giving them the green light to do what they want. Narcissists, like spoiled children, feel entitled to do whatever they want. They think the world owes them, and they can't imagine you wouldn't give in to their demands. They may be used to getting what they want, and they can't believe you are presenting an obstacle. They want to make you feel guilty about your boundaries. My mother used to try to guilt trip me at every turn. When I started going through the healing process and set firm boundaries with her, she tried to make me feel like I am a bad daughter for doing so. She would constantly let me know how my desire for healthy boundaries was having a negative effect on her. She told me that I was going to let her die since I wouldn't come running every time she called. She would also try to make me feel as though my need for privacy was somehow causing her pain. She would say things like, "I thought we were closer than that." The thing is that it's not about how close you are to a narcissist. No matter how much you let them violate boundaries, they will always seek more from you. You can't give someone with such a personality disorder enough. You could dedicate every moment of every day of your life to making them happy, and it wouldn't be enough. The nature of their mental illness doesn't let them feel as though it's enough. They have a void inside, and there is nothing you can do to fill it. The best thing you can do is to take care of yourself. They're angry. Nothing makes a narcissist angrier than when you assert a boundary with them. But sometimes they push the boundary in the first place because they're angry about something else. When my mother was angry with my father, she would come to me and start pushing my buttons. She was essentially taking out her frustration on me. It's like someone who kicks the dog because they've had a fight with their spouse. When they are feeling particularly frustrated, narcissists will often push the boundaries of the people around them. They are seeking that sense of control. They want to feel as though they can get a response out of someone. While it might be understandable on one level, it's still not acceptable for them to do this. It will be up to you, however, to let them know that they can't take it out on you. While it might prompt a dose of their narcissistic rage, you don't want to give an inch, or they will take a mile. They want to embarrass you. Another common trick narcissists use to violate your boundaries is to do it in front of other people. They think you might not be so diligent about enforcing the boundary if other people are looking on. This was one of the most difficult things I dealt with when my own narcissistic mother would violate my boundaries in front of my friends. She would say the most awkward things, and I would feel so embarrassed. When I started enforcing my boundaries, it was hard to do it with other people looking on. But I simply started saying things like, "We've talked about this before. I'm leaving." Then I would take my friend and go. It only took a couple of times of doing that before she stopped trying that tactic. If you play it right, the narcissist is the one left feeling embarrassed. Also, it's important to remember that if the narcissist is willing to embarrass you in front of other people, it's only because they fear you will embarrass them. Doing so on a few occasions will usually solve the problem of having them try to cross your boundaries in front of other people. If you don't know what to say, simply leave. The narcissist will be left having to explain to the other person what just happened. Finally, narcissists constantly push boundaries for many of the reasons we've discussed, but you don't have the ability to prevent them from doing so. It's important to remember that setting and enforcing boundaries is something we do to respect ourselves. It's a self-care technique that helps strengthen healthy relationships. Toxic people are threatened by someone who clearly respects themselves. They will often go to extremes to try to violate their boundaries. One method a narcissist will frequently use is to try to trigger you emotionally. They learn about those old wounds that spark an emotional reaction in you, and they push those buttons so they can cross a line with you. A helpful thing you can do to prevent that is to use my 5-step roadmap to heal emotional triggers, to recognize, diffuse, and heal those old emotional wounds. By diffusing your triggers, you prevent narcissists and other toxic people from violating your boundaries. The roadmap is a free guide that will give you step-by-step instructions on how to deal with emotional triggers. Just click on the link below the video and I'll send a copy directly to your inbox. Thanks for watching.